Most men think they control their money. The truth is darker. Their money controls them. Every decision they make, every word they speak, every relationship they enter is filtered through a quiet financial anxiety they will never admit exists. They check their bank account before they check their principles. They negotiate their dignity based on their net worth. They have become so attached to the numbers in their account that they have forgotten what those numbers were supposed to buy in the first place, freedom, and instead, they have purchased a cage. This is not about how to make more money. There are 1,000 channels that will sell you that fantasy. This is about something more dangerous and more powerful. This is about weaponizing the money you already have, about transforming it from a source of fear into an instrument of personal sovereignty. The Stoics understood this 20 centuries ago. Machiavelli codified it during the Renaissance. And today, in an age of financial anxiety and consumer debt, almost no one practices it. Let me show you what financial slavery actually looks like. It does not announce itself. It does not feel like chains. It feels like logic. It feels like responsibility. You stay in the job that drains you because the salary is good. You avoid difficult conversations because you cannot afford to lose the relationship that might affect your business. You buy things you do not need because everyone around you has them, and silence in that moment feels like falling behind. You check your portfolio obsessively. You feel a spike of cortisol when an unexpected expense appears. You have tied your emotional state to the movement of numbers that exist only in digital form, and those numbers now dictate the temperature of your inner world. The ancient Stoics had a word for this. They called it being enslaved to externals. Marcus Aurelius, who had access to the entire wealth of the Roman Empire, wrote in his private journal that external things cannot touch the soul. They stand outside it, and disturbances come only from the inner judgment we form about them. Think about what that means. The Emperor of Rome, surrounded by unimaginable wealth, reminded himself daily that none of it could affect his inner freedom unless he gave it permission. He understood something most modern men have forgotten. Money is a tool. The moment you become emotionally dependent on it, the moment your peace requires a certain number in your account, you have handed your sovereignty to something that does not care about you. Let me tell you about Marcus, not the emperor. A man I knew who earned $80,000 a year working in corporate finance. Good salary. Stable position. Health benefits. Everyone told him he was doing well. But Marcus was dying inside. He hated his work. He felt his creativity atrophy. He watched years pass and felt himself becoming a ghost in his own life. But he could not leave. He had a mortgage, car payments, a lifestyle he had built that required that exact income to sustain. He was trapped not by poverty but by comfort. The money that was supposed to give him options had eliminated them. He had become a prisoner of his own salary. One night, sitting in his car in the company parking lot at 9 in the evening, finishing a report he did not care about, he had a realization. He was not working for money anymore. The money was working him. It had inverted. The tool had become the master. And the worst part was not the job itself. It was what the financial dependency had done to his character. He had stopped saying what he believed in meetings. He laughed at jokes he found offensive. He watched incompetence get promoted and said nothing because he could not afford to make enemies. The money had not just bought his time. It had rented his dignity. That moment in the parking lot was when he understood the cage he had built around himself, brick by brick, purchase by purchase, compromise by compromise. This is where Machiavelli enters the conversation. People misunderstand Machiavelli. They think he was teaching cruelty. He was not. He was teaching clarity. He was writing for leaders who needed to see the world as it actually operates, not as we wish it would. And one of his core insights was this: the prince who is too dependent on his fortunes becomes their slave. The moment you need something, you have given it power over you. The moment you can walk away, you have taken that power back. Machiavelli understood what the Stoics understood. Detachment is not coldness. It is freedom. When you are not desperately attached to an outcome, you negotiate from strength. When you are willing to lose something, you paradoxically become more likely to keep it. This applies to relationships. It applies to business. And it applies with devastating effectiveness to money. So how do you weaponize money? Not by hoarding it, not by obsessing over it, but by achieving a state of inner detachment from it that transforms it into pure, strategic potential. There are principles that make this real, that turn philosophy into practice, and I want to walk you through them now because these are not abstract concepts. These are tools you can pick up and use today. The first weapon is silence. Stop talking about money. Stop discussing what you earn. Stop mentioning what you paid for things. Stop complaining about expenses. Stop bragging about investments. Every word you speak about your finances is a leak of power. It creates expectations. It reveals dependencies. It invites judgment. The man who never discusses his money becomes impossible to place on the social hierarchy. And that ambiguity is a form of power people will project onto you. They will assume competence. They will treat you with a caution reserved for those who have nothing to prove. I watched this principle play out with a man named David. He was a successful investor, quietly wealthy, but you would never know it from his lifestyle or his conversations. He drove a 10-year-old car. He wore simple clothes. He never picked up the check in a showy way or made a point of his generosity. And because of his silence, he was constantly underestimated. Business partners assumed they had leverage over him. They made offers expecting desperation. And then David would walk away from deals that did not serve him, and the other party would be stunned. They had misread the room entirely. His silence had created a strategic fog, and within that fog, he operated with total freedom. Nobody knew his position. Nobody knew his limits. Nobody could pressure him, because they did not know what pressure points existed. That silence became armor. The second weapon is patience. Money gives you the ability to wait, and waiting is one of the most powerful negotiating positions that exists. Most people cannot wait. They need the job now. They need the deal now. They need the sale now. That desperation is visible and it gets exploited. But the man who has built even a modest financial cushion, who has reduced his expenses and increased his savings, that man can afford to let opportunities come to him. He can say no to the wrong things because he is not operating from scarcity. He can let negotiations breathe. He can walk away and let the other party sit with the silence until they come back with better terms. This is not about being rich. This is about creating space. Even 6 months of expenses saved gives you a psychological buffer that changes everything. You stop making fear-based decisions. You stop taking the first offer. You start operating from abundance even if your absolute wealth is modest. And that shift in energy is perceptible. People feel it. They respond to it. Your value in every interaction goes up because you are no longer broadcasting need. When someone can sense that you do not need them, they suddenly need you more. It is a paradox that plays out in every human interaction, but most people never experience it because they never build the space that allows them to wait. The third weapon is strategic investment in yourself. Most men spend money to impress others. Clothes, cars, watches, dinners at expensive restaurants. These purchases feel good in the moment, but they are leaks. They are trading money for fleeting validation. The Stoic and the strategist both understand that the highest return on investment is the development of your own capabilities, skills that cannot be taken from you, knowledge that compounds, health that extends your operational time frame, relationships built on substance rather than transaction. When you redirect your financial resources toward your own development, something shifts. You stop being dependent on external systems. You stop needing the job because you have built skills that are marketable anywhere. You stop needing validation because you have invested in becoming genuinely competent. The money spent on a course, on coaching, on your health, on books, on time to think and create, that money is not spent. It is compounded. It returns to you multiplied in the form of capability and options. Every dollar you invest in your own competence is a dollar that increases your independence. And independence is what money was supposed to buy in the first place. The fourth weapon is strategic generosity. This is the most misunderstood principle. Machiavelli wrote about the danger of false generosity, the kind that depletes you to gain shallow approval. But he also understood that calculated generosity, the kind that builds loyalty and obligation without advertising itself, is one of the most powerful tools a leader possesses. When you help someone at a moment when they genuinely need it, when you are generous without keeping score or making them feel indebted, you create a bond that goes beyond transaction. You become someone they remember, someone they want to support when the opportunity arises. But the key is detachment. You are not generous because you expect return. You are generous because you can afford to be, and that abundance creates gravity. People are drawn to those who give from a place of strength, rather than those who give from a place of needing to be liked. The former is powerful, the latter is desperate, and people can feel the difference immediately. Let me tell you about another man. Call him James. He was not wealthy by conventional standards, but he had built a cushion through discipline. He lived below his means, he saved aggressively, and he used that financial position to create strategic opportunities. When a colleague was going through a rough patch and could not afford to attend a critical industry conference, James quietly paid for the ticket. He did not announce it. He did not make the colleague feel small. He simply handled it. 2 years later, that colleague was in a position to recommend James for a major contract. He did. James got it. The return on that investment was 50 times what he had spent. But more importantly, it was not calculated in that transactional way. It was strategic generosity born from detachment. James could afford to help, so he did. And the universe tends to reward that energy. Now let me give you the training ground, because principles without practice are just philosophy. You need to build the muscle of financial detachment, and that requires deliberate exercises that you can start today. The first exercise is the 72-hour rule. Before any non-essential purchase, wait 72 hours. Do not buy it in the moment. Let the impulse pass. Let the emotional charge dissipate. Most purchases are emotional regulation, not actual need. You are bored. You are anxious. You feel inadequate, so you buy something to change your state. The 72-hour rule forces you to separate the emotion from the decision. After 3 days, if you still want it and it serves a genuine purpose, buy it. But most of the time, the desire will have evaporated, and every time you let that desire pass without acting on it, you are training detachment. You are proving to yourself that you do not need the thing, and that proof is freedom. The second exercise is poverty rehearsal. This comes directly from Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome and one of the greatest Stoic philosophers. Once a month, live as if you have lost everything. Eat simple food. Wear plain clothes. Sleep on the floor if you need to. Experience voluntarily what you fear involuntarily. This practice does 2 things. It removes the terror of financial loss by showing you that you can survive it, and it resets your gratitude for what you have. Most financial anxiety comes from the fear of loss, but when you rehearse the loss and realize you are still fine, the fear loses its grip. You become anti-fragile. You become someone who can handle downturn without panic because you have already lived it in controlled conditions. The fear of poverty keeps more men enslaved than actual poverty ever could. When you face that fear deliberately, you strip it of its power. The third exercise is strategic abstinence. Pick something you spend money on regularly and cut it entirely for 30 days. Coffee, alcohol, eating out, streaming services. Whatever it is, eliminate it. Not because you cannot afford it, but because you are training your ability to say no to yourself. You are proving that your happiness is not dependent on that purchase. Every time you successfully abstain, you are building sovereignty. You are showing yourself that you control the money, not the other way around. These exercises are not about deprivation. They are about proving to yourself that your inner state is independent of your external circumstances. And once you have that proof, once you have felt the calm that comes from genuine detachment, money transforms. It stops being a source of anxiety. It becomes a tool you can deploy with precision and without emotional charge. The Stoics called this freedom. Machiavelli called this power. In practice, they are the same thing. The man who is not controlled by his need for money, who has built the discipline to walk away from what does not serve him, who uses his resources strategically rather than emotionally, that man operates in a different realm. He is not richer than everyone else, but he is freer. And in a world where most men are enslaved to comfort and status, freedom is the ultimate wealth. So let me ask you directly, what controls you? What do you think you cannot live without? What purchase, what salary, what lifestyle standard has become the boundary of your identity? Because whatever that thing is, it owns you. And the path to weaponizing money begins with the willingness to let it go. Not physically, but emotionally. To hold it lightly. To use it without needing it. To walk away from the table when the terms do not serve you, even if walking away feels terrifying. This is the training. This is the work. Not making more money, but becoming the kind of man who is not defined by it, who can have it or lose it and remain fundamentally unchanged in his core. That is the man people cannot manipulate. That is the man who negotiates from strength. That is the man who has weaponized his resources because he has first mastered himself. The ancient wisdom and the Renaissance strategy converge on the same point. Detachment is power, discipline is freedom, and the man who controls his relationship with money controls everything else that follows. So take the exercises, practice the silence, build the cushion, invest in yourself, give strategically, and watch as the world begins to respond to you differently. Not because you have more money, but because you have stopped being controlled by it. Think about Marcus in that parking lot. Think about David walking away from bad deals. Think about James giving without keeping score. These men all discovered the same truth. That money becomes a weapon only when you stop treating it like a god, when you strip away the emotional charge and see it for what it actually is. A tool, a resource, a form of stored energy that you can deploy or withhold based on strategy rather than fear. And when you reach that place, when you can look at your bank account with the same emotional neutrality, you might look at a hammer in your toolbox, everything changes. Your decisions become clearer. Your relationships become cleaner. Your negotiations become sharper. You stop being reactive and start being strategic. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start being an architect of outcomes. This is what the Stoics meant when they talked about inner freedom. This is what Machiavelli meant when he wrote about the importance of not being dependent on fortune. They were pointing at the same destination from different paths, a place where external circumstances have no power over your internal state, where you remain calm in chaos, detached in crisis, and sovereign in your own soul regardless of what the world throws at you. If this resonated with you, if you felt the truth in these principles, do me one favor. Leave a comment below and tell me about one moment where letting go of something gave you more power than holding on to it. It could be a relationship, a job, a purchase you decided not to make. Share that story. Because when you articulate these lessons, they become part of your operating system. And this community grows stronger when we share what we have learned in the arena. If you found value here, subscribe to this channel. There is more coming. Deeper dives into Stoic philosophy, darker truths about power and human nature, practical strategies for building a life of sovereignty in a world designed to keep you dependent. This is not motivational content. This is operational philosophy for men who want to see clearly and act decisively. This is Stoic truth where silence becomes strength,